Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will offer an update on the case of Ryan Borgwardt. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Ryan Borgwardt was born on September 9, 1979, and lived in Watertown, Wisconsin. This small town is 42 miles east of Madison. In 2002, he married a woman named Emily. They went on to have 3 children. Ryan had worked as a school janitor and then became a self-employed carpenter. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On August 12, 2024, at 10:39 p.m., the police in Green Lake County, Wisconsin, received a report that Ryan Borgwardt was missing. One day earlier, on August 11, Ryan had made a trip to Green Lake to go kayaking. Here is what the police found during the course of their investigation. Ryan's van and trailer were found by the lake. His kayak was in the lake, overturned. The police recovered his water bottle, life jacket, fishing rod, and tackle box. His wallet, driver's license, and keys were inside the tackle box. Initially, the police thought that Ryan drowned in the lake. There was a massive search effort, but Ryan was never found. In early November 2024, the police announced that Ryan probably did not drown in the lake. Rather, he executed an elaborate scheme to fake his own death. Ryan was no longer in the United States. Before he vanished, he had been talking to a woman in Uzbekistan. The police believed that he was somewhere in Central Asia, where Uzbekistan is located, or he might have been in Eastern Europe. On November 11, the police made contact with Ryan. At their request, he sent them a video showing his apartment. He told them that he was safe and secure. The police urged him to return to the United States to reunite with his family and, of course, to face criminal consequences. On December 10, 2024, Ryan flew back to the United States and surrendered to the police. He was charged with obstructing an officer, which is a Class A misdemeanor. The maximum penalty for this offense is 9 months in jail. Ryan was released on a $500 signature bond, which means he will not have to pay the $500 unless he violates the bond conditions. At the time I'm making this video, Ryan is scheduled to return to court on January 13, 2025. According to the criminal complaint, Ryan supplied the police with a detailed description of the hoax he perpetrated. It's clear that he had carefully considered his behavior and was desperately trying to be successful. This was not a haphazard effort, rather a carefully constructed master plan of deception. Here is what Ryan told investigators. On August 11, 2024, the day before he was reported missing, Ryan went to church with his family in the morning. After returning home, he went to his shop to prepare for his untimely and watery demise. He went home at some point to load a few more items, only to return to the shop. A few weeks earlier, Ryan had purchased an electric bicycle, which he kept in the shop. He backed his trailer all the way up against the building, so no cameras would capture him loading the bicycle into the trailer. Ryan left the shop and traveled to a Walmart store with the hope of finding a life jacket. One life jacket was already in his possession, but he wanted a second one. As it turns out, there were no life jackets at Walmart. Ryan made his way to a friend's house to pick up stove pellets. He knew that the friend was away from the house at that time. Ryan was surprised when the friend returned earlier than expected. However, he was able to close the trailer door so the friend didn't see the bicycle inside. After speaking with his friend for a short time, Ryan drove to Green Lake, arriving at around 10 p.m. He was alarmed to see a police vehicle near the lake, but assumed it was just a routine patrol. Reasoning that he had plenty of time, he initiated his fraudulent plan. Ryan parked his vehicle just south of Dodge Memorial Park and pulled various items out of his trailer. He placed the electric bicycle, a helmet, and backpack in the tree line just north of his position. After placing his kayak in the water, he paddled out to the deepest part of the lake and threw his cell phone overboard. In the kayak, he had an inflatable raft in a duffel bag, which he removed, inflated, and climbed into. Ryan overturned the kayak, which dumped his tackle box and fishing pole into the lake. It was important to Ryan for the evidence to strongly point to a drowning, so he left his life jacket in the kayak. As I mentioned, he had unsuccessfully tried to purchase another life jacket at a Walmart. Ryan did not want to drown for real, but I guess he was willing to take his chances. After making his way back to shore in the inflatable raft, Ryan struggled to get out of the water due to all the mud. He was sinking into it. When he finally managed to get on land, he was leaving muddy footprints as he walked across County Road K back toward his van. This was worrisome to Ryan because the police understand that most drowning victims do not leave footprints on the ground after drowning. He tried to wash the footprints off the road, but only managed to get rid of 2 of them because he needed to get started with his electric bicycle journey. He deflated the raft and took it with him on the bicycle. Using the bicycle was not as easy as Ryan thought. It took him a while to figure out how to activate the power. He was unable to remember the exact route that he took, but Ryan knew that he spent a lot of time on back county roads. Worried about being struck by a vehicle, Ryan did not stay on State Highway 73 for too long. 73 is the main route heading south. During the trip, Ryan replaced the battery of his bicycle with a fresh one. At around 5 a.m., Ryan thought about how his plan was in motion, and there was no going back. He had passed the point of no return. At about 8:30 a.m., Ryan stopped at a park a few miles from the Dutch Mill Park and Ride in Madison, Wisconsin. Madison is 65 miles south of Green Lake. There he left the inflatable raft, some of his clothing, and the electric bicycle. It took Ryan about 45 minutes to walk to the Park and Ride. There he boarded a Greyhound bus to Milwaukee. He continued to Chicago and then to Detroit. After Detroit, the bus arrived at the border with Canada. Ryan wanted to get to the Toronto airport, so crossing the border was necessary. This phase of the journey was particularly concerning to Ryan. He said he thought things might get interesting. A Customs and Border Patrol agent asked Ryan for his driver's license, but of course he did not have it. The license was in the tackle box at the lake. Ryan showed the agent his passport, hoping this would be satisfactory, but the agent wanted to see his driver's license. Ryan was separated from the rest of the passengers. He believed the agents were suspicious of him. By this point, Ryan's phone was just about dead. He could turn it on, but it was not functioning properly. The agents asked him many questions like, why was he entering Canada? He explained how he intended on boarding a flight in Toronto. Agents asked him for his flight itinerary, but without his phone working, he could not show them. Despite this, Ryan was permitted to cross the border into Canada. He had $5,500 in cash with him, which is all the money he had for this entire trip. After getting to the airport in Toronto, Ryan bought a plane ticket with a Western Union card. He flew to Paris on Air France. During the flight, he used his computer to check on the news from Green Lake. He noticed something about a missing kayaker. Therefore, he believed his plan had been successful. After landing in Paris, Ryan boarded a flight to a country in Asia. The criminal complaint did not reveal the country at this point, but later in the same document, it referred to the country of Georgia. It really doesn't make sense the police would conceal this information in one part of the document only to reveal it in another. But whatever makes them happy. Maybe they figured nobody would read it to the end. It's not clear. After arriving in Georgia, Ryan sent an email to the woman. Presumably this was a love interest. She picked him up, and they went to a hotel. As part of Ryan's preparation to fake his own death, he tried to back up data on a laptop that he left for his wife, Emily. He would have taken the laptop with him, but he knew that would jeopardize the believability of the drowning scenario. Ryan ended up transferring data that he did not intend to transfer, which allowed the police to contact him. Ryan received an email from the police on November 8, 2024. He said that his heart hit the floor. When he saw a photograph of the woman he went to meet, he knew he made a mistake, the one mistake he could not make. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. When I first covered this case, the police had pieced together much of what happened, but they had not released the details, or they didn't know all the details. The sheriff of Green Lake County implied that getting Ryan back to the United States was important, not so much because of the criminal charges he might face, but so he could reunite with his family. The sheriff even specifically mentioned how Christmas was coming and suggested that Ryan could offer no better gift to his children than being home with them. This seemed well-intentioned, albeit not quite realistic. One would think that Ryan's family would be pretty upset by the whole faking his death part, but who knows? I guess it was worth a shot. As it turns out, things may not have gone as well as the sheriff anticipated. On December 11, 2024, the day after Ryan arrived back in the United States, his wife Emily filed for legal separation. In her petition, she stated that the marriage is irretrievably broken. Emily is seeking primary custody of the children. Item number 2. Ryan planned his alleged crime for a long time in advance. For example, in January 2024, he took out a $375,000 life insurance policy, which was supposed to benefit his family. The money was not for him. Ryan reported his passport as lost or stolen. He obtained a new passport in May 2024. He changed his email addresses and connected them to his bank accounts, and inquired about moving his money to a foreign bank account. Ryan revealed to the police that he spent a great deal of time researching how to disappear. He looked up other people who had successfully disappeared. There was one person who disappeared for about 6 years. I guess this was inspiring to Ryan. He also researched people who had died in lakes and if a body would resurface. The topic of travel was of interest as well. Ryan researched how to take money into another country and different ways to leave a country without creating a trail. In Ryan's way of thinking, convincing people he was dead was the most important objective. He said everything hinged on me dying in the lake. The whole idea was to sell the death. Ryan was aware the police may figure out that he was not dead, but all would not be lost if they did. His next most important objective was to make sure he could never be tracked. He preferred remaining dead, but he would settle for remaining missing. Item number 3. When Ryan was still out of the United States, the police promoted this idea that he was emotional. There was the sense that maybe he was depressed and wanted to start over. Perhaps Ryan wished his family well and thought they would be better off without him. For a moment, Ryan seemed like the sad and troubled man who had carefully considered the impact on his family. He came to the wrong decision, but perhaps for the right reasons. Now that more details have been released, the reality behind Ryan's motive appears to be much different. Ryan did not abandon his family due to ambivalent and complex feelings about their well-being. Rather, he did it to pursue a romantic interest. All this was because Ryan was lost in an unrealistic romantic fantasy. He destroyed his entire life for a few months with his new lover. This brings me to item number 4. What should happen to Ryan? What would justice look like in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. According to the police, Ryan's deception led to about $40,000 being spent in the search for him. He is going to need to pay that back. As far as jail time, I would be fine with Ryan not being incarcerated because he is going to pay for his crime in many other ways. Bouncing back from this catastrophic fake drowning escapade will be nearly impossible. Even if Ryan was given no jail time, he will always be the guy who faked his own death in a spectacular hoax. He wanted to be thought of as dead. Well, in a way, he was successful. Ryan may have done too good a job because, to some people, he is dead. The man his acquaintances thought they knew, the man who they trusted, the man who they liked, is gone. That man really did drown in a lake, and all that is left is Ryan, the bizarre stranger with a terrible weakness, an impulsive, peculiar, and callous man who would perpetrate a hoax against his family and society. Now moving to my final thoughts. A lot of people struggle with impulsivity. They tend to give in to temptation. Many of the cases I have covered over the years are connected to impulsivity in some way. It really is a destructive characteristic that haunts some people. Being impulsive in the area of romance is particularly dangerous because it comes with grandiose plans of the future. Imagine a scenario where a man impulsively purchases a really expensive toaster from a store. He made a mistake, but the damage is somewhat contained. After all, it's just a toaster. He is not going to run away with the toaster. Rather, it can come home with him. He is not going to shoot his former toaster in order to avoid paying toaster child support. The man is simply going to enjoy the new toaster. Someday, when it burns the toast one too many times, he will simply throw it away. There is no sense of commitment to this toaster. Now imagine this same scenario, except instead of a toaster, a man is impulsively chasing a romantic interest. This is a bad idea because he has a current commitment already. So he is violating the expectations of that relationship. This becomes much more complicated. The man dreams of a future with this new woman. He obsessively thinks about all the amazing romantic adventures they will have together. In order to be with this woman, he must give up all other women, and he may have to move to where this woman is located. Everything in his life is going to change. Ironically, through the man impulsively chasing romance, instead of impulsively buying a toaster, he has become toast himself. Maybe this is what happened to Ryan. He should have just bought the toaster. Those are my thoughts on the case of Ryan Borgwardt. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.